Well, hello there. This is Virtual Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Now, in this game, I played against the Scotch Gambit again, and I completely stuffed up the opening, and yet somehow by move 20, I had the win. Let's see what happens. So, I had the black pieces, of course, and the Scotch game begins with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and now d4. Of course, captures, and the Scotch Gambit, bishop to c4. Now, against the Scotch Gambit, I've recently made some videos on this. Play the Dubois Reti Defense. Very likely, white is going to do the e-pawn advance, and the move to know is d5, counterattacking the bishop. Now here, white must play bishop to b5 to maintain equality. But in this game, they didn't know that, pulled the bishop back, and you can see that's an inaccuracy, already -1. And this is the power of the Dubois Reti defense. Now, the logical move to play here is, of course, to get out of that attack with knight e4. And in this game, I was doing something a bit naughty. I was a bit distracted, answering, I think, a message on another device. And so after about a minute, I did see this, but then I lost the sense of continuity about that attack, and I was starting to look for another candidate move. And eventually I thought, oh, look, wouldn't bishop to g4 be good? And that's what I ended up playing. As you can see, straight up blunder, because that is hanging, white captures, and immediately after that move, I realized I had made a big mistake. And I think here, in fact, it's about plus 2.6. So it is a straight up loss. Now, queen captures, of course. They take because no longer defended. That's all right. So I here decided to take what I call a chaotic, play chaotic tactics. So chaotic tactical style, which is to play super aggressively, to make that thematic, seemingly, sacrifices that don't necessarily make a lot of sense, to bemuse and confuse my opponent, all the while at the same time trying to keep up tactical tension. So here, long castles attacking the bishop. Now, one of the reasons why this potentially works in the Scotch Gambit is that the Scotch Gambit is actually quite a tricky opening for both white and black. Lots of potential tactics, a lot of traps, and also, look at this fully open e-file pretty much at the opening of the game. And by getting my king out of the way, potentially developing faster than my opponent, because one of the things about the Scotch Gambit is with the multiple moves of the e-pawn, white isn't really ahead on development. Let's see how that works. So they decide to trade, capture back with the queen. As you can see, still double attack on that knight. And here, very logical move. They decide to develop the other knight, and you can see it's a blunder. It's a really bad blunder, actually. It's -4.8. However, I, at this point, don't see the winning line, and I develop my bishop. So trying to get rapid development, also opening up to bring my rook to the center as well. You can see that's a blunder, but that's a blunder because I didn't see the best line. Queen to b5. Now, how does that work? Well, let's have a look. Queen to b5 cuts off that diagonal. King can no longer castle, and potentially there's a really strong attack. And if white try to block that diagonal, it doesn't work, because let's say they try to play this move. Well, I just take with en passant, and that's going to be a theme that comes back later. So here, they have to block with the queen, and now rook to the e-file, pinning the queen to the king. They can block, however, I can now give a check. Here we go, captures, and now the other rook, and pretty much I force a trade of their queen for my rooks. So materially balanced, but black here is actually substantially better. So that's the winning line here. As I said, I didn't see it. I played that move instead. They pushes, and this is still a blunder because that winning line is still available. Here I give a check, king now forced to move out of the way. So remember, their king is now stuck, can no longer castle. Now at this point, I decide to trade. Captures, Stockfish didn't like that, but trying to make things simple, trying to get rid of their active pieces. They bring the queen out. I have now full control of the two center files. So it's actually pretty good for me. Even though it's fairly equal, I would argue that I've got a lot more winning chances. So I bring my queen all the way to a6. You can see again, Stockfish calls this a mistake, but it's a very forcing move. White has only one good move here, and if they don't play that move, it's mate. White has to block with their queen to offer a trade of queens. Now they did see that, but now queen back to the e file, and again another mate in one threat. White here now makes a mistake. So they see, they want to trade the queens. Trading queens for them would be a good idea, and it looks like that's forced because my queen is now pinned to my king. But it's not pinned because I now have f5, breaking the pin, and again, another mate in one threat. They now push g3, which of course gives the king an escape square. That's potentially okay. I decide to move g6 so that the f5 pawn is defended. I don't need to keep my queen there. You can see Stockfish calls this a blunder, and it is if white plays very accurately. But let's see. I don't think that was a blunder in real life because of how forcing my next moves are. Now this is a blunder because that is hanging, but I'm playing a chaotic style of chess. I'm happy to sacrifice that piece. They take queen now to d5. Again, there's a mate in one threat. So if they try to defend that, the rook with, let's say, moving the queen to this position, and forcing a trade, I've got check, king is forced to take, and then I win the queen. So that doesn't work for them. If they try to bring the king here, that is pretty much close to mate. They can block here, but it's looking really bad for them as well. So here, it's a really tricky move. I expected them to move their rook, which they did. That's okay. I now look like I'm going to double up on that file, but I knew that that was a bit of a bluff because that is hanging and that is faster than me being able to make that move. But what does white do? White, gets freaked out because it looks like the king could be trapped. They want a trade of queens again. And you can see mate in 3. Why is that mate in 3? Well, the king actually now has no escape squares. So now I did see the trick. Initially, here we go, queen b5. I thought they could block with the pawn, but they can't because of en passant. So queen b5, check. They play c4, and now en passant, discovered check, and white now resigns. They've only got one last move to block the check, but then that will be mate. Good game, GG. The big takeaway from this game is to consider making use of this tactical style when you're already losing. With risk comes opportunity, and the risks are less when you're already losing. Whether you lose quick or lose slow, you're still losing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.